All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back for another deep dive. We get a ton of requests to cover specific creepy stuff. And lately, one that keeps popping up, and honestly, it freaks me out a little bit too, are those black-eyed children.
Yeah, they're definitely one of those urban legends that just sticks with you, isn't it?
Big time. So we're going to try to unpack this whole thing, figure out where it started, what people are seeing, and why this legend just won't die.
Exactly. And I think what's really interesting about this one, unlike a lot of these urban legends that kind of morph and change over time, this one we can actually trace back to a pretty specific origin point.
Oh, that's right. Didn't it all start with that journalist
Yeah, a guy named Brian Bethel. He was a journalist in Abilene, Texas.
back in the 90s sometime?
Late 90s, yep.
Okay, so let's set the scene here. I think a lot of people have heard this story before, but just to really get us into it. Bethel's sitting in his car one night.
Just minding his own business.
Totally. And then these two kids walk up to his car and ask for a ride. On the surface, that could be a totally normal, everyday occurrence.
Right, except Bethel describes this wave of just absolute dread that washes over him. And he even mentions how unusually pale these kids were. And then, of course, there are the eyes.
Big eyes.
Completely black. No iris, no white, just solid black. And, that image has become the defining feature of the black-eyed children, hasn't it?
Oh, totally. It's instantly recognizable.
And it's something about the eyes that just seems to tap into something primal, some deep-seated fear in us.
Yeah, for sure. And then it gets even weirder because these kids, they say they need to get home. I think they said something about needing money for a movie, but then they say this really creepy thing. They say, we can't come in unless you invite us.
Yeah, that invitation element is so interesting. It immediately makes you think of vampire lore and how they need to be invited into your home before they can do anything, but it's not just vampires, is it?
No, you see that across different cultures and folklore all over the world. There's something about this idea that these beings, or whatever they are, need our permission to cross that threshold.
Yeah, and I wonder if that speaks to some kind of deeper fear we have, some primal fear of the unknown invading our safe spaces.
Totally. Even without the whole black eyes thing, that request alone is unsettling.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it really plays into that feeling of dread that Bethel described. It's he knew instinctively that something was very wrong even before he saw their eyes.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, right? Because it speaks to that power of intuition. Sometimes we just get this feeling, this gut feeling that something is off, and it
Right.
goes against our expectations of what should be normal.
Totally. So Bethel obviously nopes out of that situation, drives away.
Yeah.
But it's his encounter opened up this floodgate, because after that, you started seeing similar reports popping up
All over.
all over the place.
Yeah, across the U.S. particularly. And it's the consistency of the details that's so striking, isn't it? People describe them wearing outdated clothing, appearing late at night, often in these kind of isolated areas near people's homes or on deserted roads.
It's almost like there's a blueprint for these black-eyed children that's being replicated. So, what are we supposed to make of this? Are we just seeing isolated incidents that are getting amplified because of the internet? Or is there something, stranger going on? Are these ghosts, demons, aliens? What are we dealing with here?
Right. There are so many theories out there, and honestly, none of them really give us a clear answer. Some people believe that maybe these children are spirits, maybe they're looking for help or closure. Others dive into the paranormal. They think maybe it's some kind of demonic entity, or even, like you said, extraterrestrials. But there's just no way to know for sure.
And then there's that whole fear factor. A lot of people who claim to have had these encounters, they talk about feeling this intense dread, just an overwhelming sense of fear. And some even report experiencing bad luck or even getting sick after seeing them.
Yeah, it's almost like it reinforces this idea that there's something inherently dangerous about these encounters, right?
Totally. So it makes me think, maybe it all comes back to this power of the unknown. It's not just what we don't know, it's that fear of what might happen if we do engage with that unknown. And maybe these black-eyed children, they kind of become the embodiment of that fear. They tap into our anxieties about what's lurking out there, just beyond our understanding.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think that's why this legend continues to captivate us, maybe even disturb us a little bit. It's a mystery, and it plays on those primal fears that we all have.
So it seems like we're left with more questions than answers. Are the black-eyed children just a figment of our collective imagination? Or is there something more to these encounters? It's a pretty chilling thought either way.
It is, and honestly, maybe it's the lack of a definitive explanation that keeps this legend alive. That uncertainty, that fear of the unknown, it's powerful stuff.
No doubt. It really makes you wonder, what would you do if you were in Bethel's shoes? Would you feel that same overwhelming dread? And more importantly, would you give them that invitation? I don't know about you, but I think I'd be hitting the gas and getting out of there.
Yeah, probably a good call. Better safe than sorry, right?
Right. All right, well, that's another deep dive wrapped up. Stay safe out there, everyone, and sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.